Welcome to the Moviegoers Society podcast, brought to you by Nerdtropolis. I'm your host, Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and joining me once again for another week is my co-host, Drew Munhausen, the professional media and movie mastermind. Drew, are you at a concert right now? What's going on? Are you live at a stadium?
I'm not, but it's the middle of October, and I needed the spookiest background that I could find. And this was clearly the correct answer. For those who are just listening to the audio format and can't see, I do have a Taylor Swift Eras Tour background going on right now. And it's very bright and colorful, brighter than most backgrounds I choose for this. So sorry, Sean, if it's making, if I'm blinding you with this.
It's bringing out the vibrance of your eyes.
Hey, I'll take it. That sounds like a nice compliment.
There you go. But yeah, in this podcast, we dive into world of cinema, exploring everything from beloved classics to latest blockbusters. And we're now on episode 14, and we're going to do things a little differently, I think. We're going to focus on the small screen just a bit, talk about Netflix's The Fall of the House of Usher, Apple TV's Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, and touch on Loki season 2 and the new Goosebumps series. But before we get into all that, and especially before we talk about, I guess Taylor Swift is on the topic today, we want to make sure you can connect with us online. You can find me, myself, at Nerdtropolis on all social media platforms at Sean Taj and at Nerdtropolis. And don't forget to visit nerdtropolis.com for your daily dose of movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers. And Drew, where can they find you when you're not contributing to Nerdtropolis?
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on all the different social media platforms, and also over at Fresh Out the Podcast Weekly.
Also, don't forget to catch up on past episodes of the Moviegoers Society. Like I said, we're in episode 14, so you got 13 episodes to catch up on if you have not listened to them before. And tune into my podcast, Nerdtropolis Mayor Presents, which you can find on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Nerdtropolis YouTube channel, where I talk to directors, actors, writers, producers, everyone from Hollywood. But before we jump into our TV segments, I guess we're going on tour with Taylor Swift right now and talk about what's going on in the box office, Drew. It's wild, huh?
Yeah, it's wild. And let me just say, we understand the irony that, we are the Moviegoers Society podcast, and that today we're going to be talking about a lot of different TV shows. However, two points to make here. One, some of these series we're going to be talking about either tie into movies or are based on movies or, linked to some sort of existing IP. So I think they're worth talking about. And two, there's nothing that really came out this. I mean, obviously Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour concert film came out this weekend, but from a narrative movie standpoint, nothing came out. The Exorcist Believer was supposed to come out this weekend. And as soon as Taylor Swift announced this movie would be coming out, they tucked their tail and ran and got out of the way, and which was probably, not. I don't know if I'm going to say it's the right decision, but I also won't.
Honest, it was the right decision based on the quality of the movie that came out for The Exorcist Believer, and very smart of them to not jump into this Taylor Swift battle and kind of bow out. And I wonder how much they even made this weekend as their second weekend, but we'll get into that a little bit.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour, this movie made almost $100 million in the U.S. this weekend, so it made a lot of money, which is great for theaters. I'll be fully transparent here. I did not go see this, and I don't think you did either, right? Unless you're hiding it from me.
I have not seen this. I wouldn't have mind seeing it. I think it's just a weird time for me to go watch it. It's just been crazy this whole month. If it came out some other time, I probably would have gone and see it. Probably take my sister and girlfriend and maybe my mom to go watch it. But time has been crazy. But
I'm with you. I'm with you. I would have considered going to see it, but there's a couple things working here at play that I think are interesting to talk about. Have you, do you surf TikTok much, Sean, or are you on social media? Well, obviously you're on social media, but are you on, TikTok too often scrolling it?
Only when I'm posting awesome reels for Nerdtropolis. So definitely follow Nerdtropolis on TikTok. We are on there. I do not spend too much time on there because I feel like I would be there all day and probably never sleep.
Yeah. That was actually a really good place to use shameless self-promotion. So I appreciate the Nerdtropolis plugs there. No, so I as early as Thursday evening when they started doing the first screenings of the Taylor Swift Eras Tour concert film, I started seeing viral videos popping up where the movie theater crowds were, the Swifties that had gone to see the film were up out of their seats, dancing on the floor, at the bottom of the theater, like basically at the base of the theater screen. Um, People standing up in their seats singing, just like a full on concert atmosphere, but in a movie theater. And these clips are viral on TikTok and Instagram and different social media feeds. And there's never been something that made me want to go see something in a theater less than that did right there. I was like, okay, if that's what's happening opening weekend of this movie, I'm out. I can't. I just can't. Like, I have no problem with Taylor Swift. I have no problem with her music. Full transparency, some of her songs I actually kind of like. Um, I did not get to go see the Eras Tour concert when they were here in town, so like I would go see this, but I don't think I could do an opening weekend screening with a theater full of Swifties that are dancing and such like that. The other thing that's worth pointing out, my small local theater that I tend to go to, if I'm not going to like a press screening or something and I'm just catching something on my own, there's a theater. It's literally 6 minutes from my house. It is not a big chain. It's not like an AMC or Regal. It's just a small theater that's like the owners have, 6 or 7 theaters total. And it's a perfectly nice theater for me to go to. Even I looked just for, just for grins, I think on Wednesday, to see how many tickets had sold, because I knew that there were a lot of advanced ticket sales of the Taylor Swift concert film, and I wanted to see. And my little local theater here for the Friday night showing, to see how many tickets are sold or how many seats are filled, I have to go in and act like I'm buying a ticket. And when it was time for me to select my ticket, they only had one option, and it wasn't their typical, adult ticket option. It said special event concert ticket, and the ticket price was like $8 more than what a normal Friday night ticket would be in their big theater. And I was taken aback. They were pricing these tickets like a special event concert ticket, or like an event screening.
But like Fandango, when they have, is it Fandango have their special, or Fathom events has like their special events, but I don't remember them upcharging for those types of things unless it's like a double feature. So you're telling me like tickets were about $20 for this?
I think it was $22 was the price for this, which normally for a Friday night ticket, I think it's like $16 for an adult ticket in the big theater. It's like their theater with Dolby, surround sound and the best picture quality. And then I was like, okay, well, let me look what's like a Saturday matinee showing. Same pricing for the first showing of the day on Saturday. So, I can't blame the theaters for wanting to make money off of this event. That's good business. But for me, as a normal moviegoer, I was like, I do not care enough about this tour to pay an upcharge to go see it. And especially if I had paid that much money and then it was like people out of their seats dancing and running around the theater, I would have gone nuts. So this is one of the rare occasions where, we talked early on in the life of this podcast is when we talked Barbenheimer and the natural social media publicity that happened for the Barbie and Oppenheimer, double feature and Barbenheimer. It was like the perfect social media storm that the studios could have never cooked up. And here, Taylor Swift, who's a master of social media herself, has her fans now doing additional promotion for this film by posting these videos. This is one of those cases where I'm like, I wonder if these videos are going to do actually more harm than help. Like,
not if you're charging this much. I'm looking right now, the local AMC theater out here in Houston, and for tonight's screening at 10 p.m., it is $25.89.
Yeah, see, that's
so I don't think there's gonna be any hurting other than the people going there with those pockets. And unless you're going by yourself, mostly it's a group of four girlfriends or moms and sisters and stuff like that. I mean, that's a lot just for. How long is this? Oh, well, it's a 2 hour and 48
It's almost
minutes.
3 hours long. Yeah, it's long.
And I wonder if it has trailers. It'd be interesting if it has trailers beforehand, if it's a special screening.
It's a good question. I think Taylor Swift's a good businesswoman. She's bypassed the studio system for this movie and worked directly with AMC for distribution and with the theaters. So she's probably making a lot of money off of this. So and more power to you in that regard. But just I can't help but wonder if there were people that were on the fence to go see it, and then they see the social media storm behind it and what people are doing in theaters, and they're saying the same thing as me and saying, "Nah, I can wait." I'm
Especially at
good.
that price. I mean, that's like an on-demand price. Actually, more than an on-demand price. Usually, it's like $19.99 for a buy now or 24-hour or 48-hour rental they do now or something like that. So, well, it's safe to say that this movie did really well. I think worldwide total is at 128 million. Probably a sequel happening somehow. When you have numbers like that.
Yeah, no joke. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, it's like I think that people that went to go see this tour are going to go see this movie because they want to see it again and they want to have the best seat in the house, which is what you get by watching this film. And there were tons of people that weren't able to get tickets to this concert tour that wanted to go. And so this is a great opportunity for them to see it. So I can't fault what this is and why it's out. Like that's totally fine. But the pricing and the fandom for me, I'll wait. So I just thought we had to at least address it because we are the Moviegoers Society podcast, and this is the big movie theater opening from this past weekend, even though we didn't see it and it's not for us. And I don't know how much it's even really for the Nerdtropolis audience that's listening to this
We have
podcast,
some Swifties. We definitely have some Swifties in the Nerdtropolis community. And this movie probably going to be the number one movie this month. This past weekend as well, Exorcist came in at number 2 at 11 million. Impressive, but still it's a big gap from the 96 million that Taylor Swift made. And then behind Exorcist was Paw Patrol, followed by Saw X and The Creator. So I feel like people stayed away from the theaters this weekend to let the Swifties take over, and then we'll see what happens in the following weekend as we talk about. Well, that's not happening till November, but our next podcast we're gonna do Killers of the Flower Moon, and we're gonna talk about Back to the Future. And I want to see we'll see what Back to the Future events are happening this weekend in the theaters. I know they're doing a lot of back-to-backs with the 3 movies and some other things. So some fun things that your local theater is probably doing for Back to the Future Day happening this weekend. And I'm excited to talk about Back to the Future because that is one of my all-time favorite trilogies. Do you find anything for us, Drew, on the World Wide Web?
I was actually just looking at release dates and everything as we were talking about, and luckily I think this is kind of the last weekend where there wasn't a big release, and we're going to have stuff to talk about consistently for the weeks to come. It's like you go, we've got Killers of the Flower Moon, then we've got Five Nights at Freddy's, and then we've got Priscilla and the Holdovers and the Marvels. And, luckily here on out for the rest of the year, it looks like there's going to be a steady stream. Man, November 17th is the Hunger Games, Thanksgiving, Trolls. So there's a lot coming.
There's a lot happening. So I'm glad this week we can change things up. Oh, is there a Taylor Swift song? Shake things up or something? I don't know. Shake it up.
Shake it off. Yeah.
Shake it off. See, I don't know.
We'll shake off these TV blues and get back to seeing movies in theaters.
Yeah, but I guess now we can journey into the realm of Edgar Allan Poe and Mike Flanagan. What a combination that is to unravel the fall of the House of Usher. And I will say, I think I watched 2 of the episodes that we were given to screen. And I know all of them are out on Netflix. I'm sorry to say this. I tried to get the first 2 so I can watch the rest. It really was hard to get through them because I know Drew has his take because you watched all of them?
I did. I watched all 8 episodes.
Yeah, so I only watch, I think, the 2. I can't tell you if I watched the full 2. I was distracted, multitasking. But I would say this before I turn it over to Drew, that it was a very slow burn to get those first 2 episodes and really hard to keep track of what was going on. But I heard from Drew that it does pay off. So tell us all about this new series.
Yeah, so I was pretty positive on this. Now, for full transparency, they screened the first 2 episodes of the show at Fantastic Fest. So I actually got to see the first 2 episodes like in a movie theater setting on a big screen with no interruptions. So that really helped me, I think, to get into the show. And then the folks at Netflix were kind enough to let me screen the rest of the episodes before the full series released. And I would say, so if you're a fan of Mike Flanagan and the series that he does on Netflix, which he's had a series come out almost every year since like 2018, because you've had The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, and now this is coming out. And The Fall of the House of Usher, it goes in with the trend that Mike Flanagan's been doing, where he does a lot of these series based off of classic literature. The Haunting of Hill House is based on the story by Shirley Jackson, and now this is based on the works of Edgar Allan Poe, which House of Usher is a Edgar Allan Poe story, but all of the episodes in this series are named after a different story by Edgar Allan Poe, and like all the characters are named after Edgar Allan Poe story characters, and there's tons of Easter eggs and homages throughout that I think that if you're a big fan of Poe's writing, you'll find things to really like here. Bruce Greenwood is the lead as Roderick Usher, and he's like the head of this big pharmaceutical company along with his twin sister. And it lets you know from the beginning of the show that like all his children are dead and have just died within a recent time period, like have all died within the past week, like a freak accident. And so each episode, once you're kind of set up with the premise, each episode is going back and following one of the kids and essentially letting you know how they died or how they met their end. And it's a cool premise. Typically the death sequences are gruesome and spectacular in different ways. But like you said, Sean, I mean, this kind of, it falls into a lot of the tropes that these Netflix shows do, where when you get to the fourth or fifth episode, it tends to start to sag a little bit, and you're having to wade through it, and you're kind of like, I get it already. But the performances in the show are really good. I think that they're enough to kind of keep you powering through and to see these big elaborate death sequences. But yeah, the plotting for sure starts to get a little bit slow in the middle. And you take this 8-hour series, you probably could have chopped off 3 hours and made it like a really tight 5-hour series, and it would have been better. But like I said, all the performers, it's the typical group of performers that are in these Mike Flanagan projects. Like almost every single person in the cast has been in one of his previous shows or movies, so you'll recognize them. Mark Hamill is an addition to this one, and he's great. And
I didn't even know he was in this, and I wish someone told me that he was in here. I probably would have focused more and watched the rest. But it does have a great cast, and a lot of people that like Mike Flanagan's work love it, and also a lot of people that like Edgar Allan Poe work have there's like Easter eggs galore of all his work in this, and people seem to really love that.
Yes, absolutely. So I could see it being, I don't want to say divisive. It's not like it's it's not like it's that there's any kind of conflict or anything like that. It's just, it can be kind of a slow burn. And if you don't like slow burn horror, it might not be for you. And it deals with politics of like pharmaceutical company and things there in the opioid crisis. And so there's a lot in this package, but at the root of it, there's some really good performances, some pretty cool gore if you're into that, and overall some good storytelling that maybe takes its time a little bit too much. But overall, I thought it was pretty solid. So that's The Fall of the House of Usher. The full series is now streaming, all 8 episodes on Netflix. Yeah.
What do you give this star rating wise?
I went ahead and gave it a 4 out of 5. I liked it a fair amount. The slowness of those middle episodes, I thought the first couple episodes and the last couple episodes really made up for it in the storytelling, and there was enough there to keep me going. So yeah, overall I'm pretty positive on it.
Yeah, and you can read Drew's full review on nerdtropolis.com, and I might have to end up watching it because I do hear great things. It's just finding the time to burn through all those episodes, and binging it, to be honest, is the way to go. I love binging stuff. It's definitely more tailored towards me instead of waiting weekly. And we could dive into another series that's not even out yet. We could dive into the untold secrets of the Monarch organization. with Monarch Legacy of Monsters coming to Apple TV in November. The great folks at Apple TV were kind enough to send us screeners for what we watched, the first 5 episodes, I believe.
Yes, there's 10 total. We were able to see the first 5. Currently, this over the course of this weekend, it's been New York Comic Con, so I believe they had a panel there for the show, and they screened the first episode or 2 for the crowd there. So kind of lines up with that. But yeah, we get to see the first 5.
Yeah, and not many people have Apple TV Plus or they don't want to pay for it. They don't see a reason to get it. But to be honest, they've been adding a lot of great content to it, but they just have not been advertising it well, I feel like, compared to other streamers. And I must say, I am excited for the next 5 episodes to finish off the first season of Legacy of Monsters. It offers an exciting addition to the Monsterverse. So if you know the Godzilla movies, Kong Skull Island and Godzilla versus Kong, and then we got more coming out. This is all intertwined with the first movie and kind of takes place after the first film. And then it goes flashback also, I believe, the 50s. But I love this show so much. I thought it was really cool. A lot of complaints for the movies I had is too many human characters. And this series has a lot of human characters, but it makes sense for a series. For the series, give us all the humans. For the movies, give us all the monsters. That's what I want them to do as they shift back and forth between a series and a film. They give us more. But yeah, it's about the Monarch organization that we saw first in 2014 with the first Godzilla film. And it does emphasize the human characters a lot, but it does not miss out on the monsters, Drew, right? There are monster appearances, which I was actually surprised of what we saw. Maybe not enough, but I was actually really surprised that we saw some great monsters and some great appearances. And I thought they did a really good job, even visually. I was like, I don't know what their budget is, but nothing looked bad to me. Nothing looked green screen to me. And they used a lot of archive footage too from the first film to kind of make the story work, which I loved. I was like, oh, we saw this stuff in the first movie and now we see it like played out in front of us, which is great. So I really love the narrative that they're uncovering for us. And then the casting is amazing. I love Kiersey Clemons in this. I love her in everything she is. I got to talk to her a few years ago about some of her stuff. So it's great to see her again. But I really think Kurt Russell and the Wyatt Russell combination here is awesome.
That's the key thing here that's pretty neat is Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell, father and son are playing the same character. And so Wyatt Russell plays this character, Lee Shaw, back in the 50s, and Kurt Russell's playing him in the present. So that's kind of the big hook here, I feel like.
It is. And it's,
Other
I can't believe
monsters,
no one,
of course.
Yeah, but no one has done this before, it seems like. It's like they look identical, obviously, as father and son. They look very close look. So you can play this off of being a younger version of Kurt Russell, of course.
The closest thing I know when they did the Sopranos prequel movie a couple years ago, The Many Saints of Newark, and I believe James Gandolfini's son played Tony Soprano in that. So like there is a history of them doing this kind of thing, but here like the overlapping, and they make a point to, there are times where like it fades from one of their faces to the other in a scene transition. And you can see like, because they have very similar jaw lines, they do have a lot of, similar facial structure in the way that they talk. And
it's the most believable thing I've seen doing this, bringing a father and son to play a younger version of the dad and stuff like that. So it totally works. And I don't really like shows that go back and forth when the flashbacks. So this one goes from the 50s to almost present day, or I guess 2015, I guess is the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's right after the what they call G-Day, the Godzilla invasion of San Francisco. That's in the Godzilla movie from 2014 that Gareth Edwards directed, which he's been on mind recently because the creator is currently in theaters. And he kicked off this Monsterverse for us and introducing us to this Monarch organization. And like I said, I don't like when things go back and forth, but with this, I loved it. I wanted to see more of like the 50s, and I wanted to see what was happening in their present day of that time in the 2019. It's hard to label that, but I really liked it. I did not have a problem with them jumping back and forth and giving us two narratives that really tied together very well. And it's setting up some really cool stuff, even though it's kind of still set in the past compared to the present Godzilla movies and the Kong movie.
It just delivers so much. But I really enjoyed it. And I don't want to wait any longer, Drew, for the next 5 episodes because I love Godzilla and I just love them kind of intertwining this new story and kind of diving into Monarch. I think it's a really cool concept.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, the early access here. It's like the first 2 episodes, I believe, will be released November 17th, and then it's 1 episode a week after that. So this series won't even be fully out until January. So you won't be able to binge all 10 episodes until then. But that being said, the first 2 episodes are directed by Matt Shakman, which I think is noteworthy because he's the one who did all 9 episodes of WandaVision, and he's directing the upcoming Fantastic Four movie. So, like, if you're a fan of the MCU and what the directors that work in the MCU or what other projects they're working on, you'll have to check this out. I'm with you on everything. Like the monster scenes look incredible, and every episode has at least one. I kind of made sure to note this. There's at least one big monster appearance, whether in flashback or in the present. In every episode, and they all do look really good. I do think when I first was watching the first episode or two, I was like, I don't know if I'm really that into it. It is a lot about the human characters. I do think the concept of people dealing with the Godzilla attack, like really dealing with it on a personal and emotional level and looking at underground fallout shelters and how there's now like emergency drills and things for cities after these attacks. Like that's the new normal, and that kind of stuff I find to be really interesting. And some of the human characters are okay, but it was all humans, and I started to feel like it was a little bit slow. The moment Kurt Russell shows up on your screen, which I don't think he shows up until the second episode, it's like that goes away because I think he's just electric and he's so charismatic. And anytime Kurt Russell's on the screen, the show is doing great. Wyatt's fine too, but he's just not at the same level as Pops yet. Like Kurt Russell is just a tried and tested movie star, and he knows what he's doing here. And even when he's dealing with monsters or silliness, he goes all in, and he's playing it serious. And well, I say serious. He's got like some snark to him and some comedy, but he's just really great. And I think that as the show goes along and what it's uncovering, and it's Monarch is part of the show title, but they're also kind of like the antagonists of it all, or it's kind of unclear. They're like this weird gray area organization, and it's kind of unclear what their true motives are. But yeah, I overall was vibing with this. And as somebody who's a fan of not overstaying your welcome, these episodes sit in the nice realm of being anywhere from, I think the longest episode we were given access to was maybe 50 or 51 minutes long. A lot of them were like 40 to 42 minutes long, which was nice. Like you get through these episodes pretty quickly.
Yeah, they don't feel long at all. And I don't think they're like wasting the time that they have. They're setting up some good things. And like you said about Wyatt, I don't think we saw enough of Wyatt's character yet. We have a lot of flashbacks and a lot of footage of what he's doing when he's younger. But I think there's more to come as the next 5 episodes appear, because there's a lot of like, I guess, secrets coming about of what really happened back then and how did Godzilla come about then. And still one of the coolest things is all those, I mentioned this before, all the archive footage that we saw in the previous films are brought to life and it kind of remade as not like old archive footage on a computer. It's like actually what was how they filmed it then, which was really cool. And I loved seeing that remade. But yeah, it's great. But I gave this, I think I gave it about 4 out of 5 stars. I really loved it. Like I said, I'm a big Godzilla fan. And then we have another Godzilla movie coming out next year. And I hopefully next year. It keeps getting pushed back.
Is there? I didn't even know.
Yeah, but also there is a new Godzilla movie coming out this December, which is super exciting. I think it's called -1 is what it is. And that looks really great, but that's separate from this Monsterverse. That is the Japanese made film that's coming over here. But like I said, give me as many Godzilla monster films that you can. That's all I want.
And it's a good get for Apple TV. Like, I mean, Ted Lasso has been their biggest kind of mainstream hit, and they don't really have any IP. Like so having something, having Godzilla or something, the MonsterVerse here is a good get for them, and it works for TV. And the human stories in this show work way better than the human stories that they try to put in the movies. Because when you're seeing the movies on the big screen, like you really just want the monsters, and they know that.
You don't care. So I hope like in next year when they give us that, so the next movie is like Godzilla X Kong, whatever you want to say, that the new empire, and it looks like on the poster they're fighting like a big orangutan, which looks like what King Louis from the Jungle Book. So I mean, those previous movies, Godzilla versus Kong, introduce a whole world where there's a bunch of creatures going on, and I feel like this show Monarch also explains where the monsters are coming from slowly and what's going on a little bit more in depth than what the films were doing. The films are very vague on a bunch of stuff as well, and I feel like this one kind of clears some of the questions I had.
And without spoiling, like obviously you do see some flashbacks with Godzilla and whatnot, but like there's new monsters in this. Like there's monsters at least that I wasn't familiar with, and the designs are cool. They look neat, like or they have kind of neat abilities, if you can call it that. So without spoiling anything further, there like there's new monsters, and they're cool and well designed.
Yeah, so good for Apple TV for finding this and picking this up. And I hope this is not just like a season one and done. Like a lot of shows have been happening lately. I feel like I just want things to continue on that are so well done. So I'm looking forward to that one. And then I think we can I want to jump into this. I don't think you've seen any of these. Have you watched the new Goosebumps series, Drew?
I have not.
I'm so going to be alone on this one, but I got to talk about it. So viewers beware. You're in for a scare with this brand new Goosebumps that's actually on Disney Plus and Hulu, which is very odd. It's on both. This is it's a head. I understand why they did it, but it's a head scratcher for me. I'm like, just combine the two, please, if you're doing that. But there is a brand new Goosebumps revival series with a fresh take on the classic R.L. Stine books. I grew up loving the books and the 90s series. Going home, I guess I used to go home after school, and you get that very iconic intro with the golden retriever with the eyes glowing. You get the whole thing is really cool. And then they had a couple previous Goosebumps films with Jack Black involved. And the first one is R.L. Stine, and I think he's the voice of Slappy in that second one. And then you have like other adaptations of R.L. Stine, I believe Fear Street, and then Zombie Town. They did like an independent film that just dropped on Hulu that has Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase in it. So a lot of R.L. Stine books being adapted. Quality's not always the greatest, but it's fun for nostalgia. And so I know a lot of people watching this new Goosebumps series is wanting that nostalgia. I'm going to say you're not going to get it, which is fine. You don't need the strong nostalgia. There is some with it based on the books it's tackling, but this is such a refreshing take that exceeded my expectations, Drew. I'm going to sell this to you. It's not really for the age that we were watching the 90s show. It's much darker than that. So I would say a teenage audience and definitely older for this show. If I was
interesting, I kind of assumed it was more kid based. So this is appealing to me.
Yes, I do not feel like this is kid based at all. If I was the age I was watching the original Goosebumps, I was too young for what's going on now with this new series. So this new series introduces us to 5 high schoolers that have a mystery that need to unfold based on a tragic death of Harold Biddle, which happened 3 decades ago. So it also involves their parents. So there's a lot going on there. And like I said, it's super dark, but the plot really combines awesome R.L. Stine elements from the previous books, and they put it in a single narrative. And that's what I loved about it. That you have elements from, I'm trying to think how many books in total, but maybe 3 or 4. And they're easy to tell where they get that from. But it's super awesome, and the cast is great. And the best sell for this, Justin Long is in the series, which is amazing. So the inclusion of that horror favorite of mine makes the series really fun, and he plays a big part in the series, and so does everyone else. I mean, this will really appeal to horror fans, and especially if you like. I guess I go back to some of the Mike Flanagan stuff. It's not like Mike Flanagan's stuff because it doesn't go as far and gory and all that stuff, but it's a lighter version of what Mike Flanagan has given us with his previous series. So it's kind of like a lighter touch on that because it's on Disney Plus and Hulu.
How many episodes are available as of now?
As of now, I don't know if I got to watch them all early, and I watched all 8.
Okay,
Um,
I didn't know if they put the full series out on Disney Plus
they
or if
could
they're
have. That's
slowly
a.
releasing them.
I'm hearing people are watching multiple episodes, so maybe it's a full drop.
And I did see, I logged into Hulu and I saw that it was on Hulu, and I think that's a good move to make it, you know, have it on both platforms. So
Yeah,
let's see,
it's
5 episode premiere now streaming, and then a new episode every Friday. So basically, it goes through Halloween season.
that's brilliant. I love that. That's a very smart way to do it. This was a show that you really need to just sit down and watch through. I did take breaks in between just because it's busy schedule, but I was ready to jump back in when I could. It was like that. I hated kind of have to do other things, but I was ready to jump back in. So binging all 8 episodes is really what I wanted to do because that's how good it is. And it's a lot of fun. And hopefully they do more because there's so many Goosebumps books out there, and the kind of the world they built makes sense, and the writers did a great job. So Drew, watch you some Goosebumps and get into the spooky season. Halloween is almost here.
I'll check it out. I was looking just now because I was looking at what episodes were available. I saw the episode titles are some of the classic books that I owned. Like I owned Say Cheese and Die, and and some of these other ones. So there's a little bit of nostalgia there that has me interested to check it out. And especially, I did go see the Goosebumps movie that came out. Gosh, when was it? The first one of the newer ones, like back in 2015, 16,
The
sometime
sequel,
around
yeah,
then.
the second one came out in 2018, so maybe 2016, 2017 from the one prior.
Yeah, I went and saw the first one, and it's really just like, here's some big monsters from the books that are running amok, and we got to get them back is kind of what I remember. And I'm more interested in like more nuanced storytelling is from the books, so that's the appeal to me.
Yeah, you said Say Cheese and Die, so that's part of it. You got, I guess, the haunted mask, I think, is on there. The cuckoo clock.
Yep, Cuckoo Clock of Doom.
Yeah, so there's a lot of elements in it. Eat worms.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's just a lot. So there is nostalgia, but I'm glad it wasn't like trying to be something that we grew up on the 90s and delivered something for us grown up now, and a younger audience that is more mature as well. But I think I'm gonna go back and watch the original series on Disney Plus probably in the next couple of days because I do miss it for sure. And then speaking of Disney Plus, we got a new Marvel show. We got Loki, season 2 of Loki.
And this just goes to show you how many shows we have, and like you and I were fortunate enough to have Monarch and House of Usher, so like I was trying to make sure to get those in before embargo so that we could talk about them and so on and so forth. And because of that, it's pushed off some of these like big premiere shows. I know that you've gotten to see the first 4 episodes of Loki. I finally watched the premiere. I haven't seen the second episode. So, again, I've been using this phrase a lot, but for full transparency, I've only seen the premiere, but I will probably watch the second episode as soon as we're done here.
Oh yeah, you need to. And so like, yeah, season 2 picks up right where like the first season ended, and ended with the battle with Loki and He Remains and just the whole control of the TVA. And then the new season, Loki's back. And I really love Tom Hiddleston in this role. Like he is made for Loki. And how long has he been playing Loki now? Almost like 14 years, maybe. I mean, that's wild to think about. He's been Loki for that long. I don't know when it all started.
2011. So yeah, 12 years.
It's wild. And once again, Loki's joined again with Mobius, which is Owen Wilson in the MCU is just so fun to me. And so that's always exciting. I definitely don't want to give too much away because, everyone else is watching it weekly and Drew is behind an episode, but you got a lot of familiar faces back and you got fresh faces. So it's great to see Tom Hiddleston in this role. Does he do any other movies? Like, I just know him as Loki.
He did early on. I don't know what he's been doing recently. Like he might be, I know he's like a theater or stage actor as well. Like he's been doing stuff there. I'm not even sure.
I'm trying to look up and see if he has anything next, and I don't see anything really, but good for him. Like he is made to be Loki. It's wild that I think he's probably my favorite casted MCU character and actor that I think that fits it 100% perfect. 100%.
And I'll say this, just talking about season 2, because like there's a part of me that I was, not to say I wasn't looking forward to the show, but I feel like I wasn't motivated to really dive in and watch it. Now that being said, after watching the premiere, I'm like, this show, season 2, has immediately justified its existence. Like you said, it starts off as right where the first season ended, and it immediately feels like there's high stakes. There's, the pacing's really good. It's moving fast. There's goals. There's things happening, and I really enjoyed that about it. Like there's a lot going on, and immediately I'm in. I'm more in on this show than I have been on a Marvel TV show in a while.
Yeah, and it moves quickly too. I tell you that the pacing, I think it's going to move quickly, and that's to feel like I have a problem with these weekly releases. I don't know how I could do it if I'm going to enjoy it less if that way. But watching the first 4, it was rolling, and I was like, man, give me more. Just give me more. But Jonathan Majors is back as another variant and of Kang, and I think this is my favorite Kang variant that pops up in here, and maybe we get more. But I love Jonathan Majors in this role. I think he actually is extremely talented. Extremely talented. If you could pull off variant performances with these variants, it's pretty impressive. But they're all completely different from each other. Like you have to have a lot in your sleeve to pull off these different performances, almost pretty much of the same person, and you just got to create new characteristics of them. It's pretty wild of how he came up with that, and I'm sure everyone's seen it, but Ki-Hugh Kwan's in here, that we know as Short Round.
He's the MVP of the premiere.
Yeah, he's the MVP of the series, I'm gonna tell you. So we know in the Goonies and Indiana Jones, and also Everything Everywhere All at Once, and the energy he's gonna bring to the series is amazing. I can't believe it took him this long to be part of the MCU, and I hope it's a character that just sticks around. Or maybe he has a variant character that does something else in another movie, but he's a lot of fun to watch. So those two are my MVPs along with Jonathan Majors. And of course, Loki's top of everything. I mean, Tom Hiddleston as Loki is top of everything, but this show is going to be a lot of fun. And I think it's like one of the bigger series that has an impact of the future of the MCU. And that's why I like this show, because I feel like it impacts the future compared to other series. I feel like standalones or even films where it's like a pocket story and things that happen in that movie or series doesn't affect the future or the timelines or anything like this. I feel like this is going to jump somehow maybe into Deadpool 3, and then that's going to roll into other things. I hope so. They need to make the connection somehow.
Loki has had such a big presence in the first few phases of the MCU that it just immediately makes this show feel bigger in a way that something like Moon Knight or, She-Hulk or something like that didn't feel as big. Kind of Secret Invasion 2, which is a shame because Samuel Jackson's there, and you would think that would raise all the stakes, but that's more, I'm not going to dive into that. The Jonathan Majors of it all is interesting because I do think he's really good in this role, and we'll just see like with off-screen stuff what's going to happen there and what route they're going to do. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that we're getting this, and that we're not like pulling back on anything. So we'll see. But I think he's good as in this role too.
Yeah, and you mentioned like Moon Knight, and I wish Moon Knight had like a bigger effect on the MCU. I mean, that's such a amazing story, an amazing character that didn't have an effect. I'm kind of scared for the Marvels. I mean, it looks a lot of fun, but I'm like, if that movie has nothing to do with the future films, then what's the point?
Yeah, I don't know. We're in a really, really weird spot in the MCU right now, and you and I have before this podcast even existed, we've been on other podcasts and talked about it for literally hours of time, of like the state of the MCU and where we're at and the fandom around it and if it can recover. And this feels good. Like watching Loki season 2 is a sweet spot of MCU where like I feel comfortable and that I like more than some previous projects. I can't sit here and say honestly that I'm like so excited for the Marvels. I'm definitely going to see it, and I hope that it's good. but there's nothing they've really showed us there that has me like, yeah, this is going to be the movie that saves, the future of the MCU or anything like that. But I think it'll be fun. It looks fun.
Their trailer makes it look fun. I just feel like the bad guy might not be a great villain, and it might not be they could have gotten bigger and badder probably with the villain. But I'm going to say this. I think I've said it before probably on Twitter or something, or X, whatever you want to call it. But the MCU is back on track with Loki season 2. Hopefully the Marvels does the same thing and not take it a step backwards. But Loki, I feel like it's 2 steps forward. We'll see if the Marvels takes it a step back. But if they can do what Loki's doing and make things really worthwhile watching, and everything is at stake pretty much, is really what, and you feel it and you see it, then the Marvel is good to go, because there's so many movies that they're planning on doing, and there has to be some major effects to be shown in these lead up films.
And I don't even know what the next MCU movie. So the next MCU movie after the Marvels was supposed to be Deadpool 3.
It is. It's May. It's May of 2024 still. They have not changed that.
Okay. Well, we'll see if this SAG is still striking. We'll see if that changes. But Deadpool 3 and then Captain America Brave New World and Thunderbolts and Blade are the ones that are supposed to round out this phase. Deadpool 3, Captain America Brave New World, and Thunderbolts were all supposed to be 2024. So we'll see if those all end up coming out next year. We'll hopefully
Brave New World finished filming, I believe.
Okay. And it's in post-production. Deadpool 3 is filming on hiatus. So I guess it depends on if anything from Deadpool 3 directly impacts Captain America Brave New World, or if they'll switch those release dates and Captain America might come out sooner. We'll see.
I don't know about that, because Deadpool 3 is going to have the biggest effect and really make a lot more money, I feel like, than Captain America Brave New World. And I'm curious of like how grounded that Brave New World storyline is going to be. If it's going to be like a standalone story and not have effect on anything, then I just really focus on the new Captain America and not really have any interaction. They need to start interacting everybody together. I miss the Avengers movies, Drew. I'm going to say this. I miss everyone popping in and out in other movies too, and have appearances or a cameo or something. They're not doing that anymore. I feel like it's just like back to these solo films. I'm like, no, thank you. Like, can we have a cool cameo or something? And it's not, these guys can pop in and out now. It's kind of like the animated shows that we used to watch growing up. I'm like, you would have some random superhero pop into the show and, and such. So we'll see. Like Thunderbolts, is that really necessary? I kind of wish Thunderbolts was more of a show. That kind of would have been more fun.
And see, I'm of these this upcoming slate, Thunderbolts is probably the one that I'm most excited for.
Well, right after that is Blade. You should be excited for Blade. And I hear it takes us back in time.
Everything around the production and the rewrites on that just has me nervous for it. And if we'll ever even see the light of day, or I guess see the dark of night, is more appropriate for Blade. But I don't know. Thunderbolts is a big team up movie, and like I'm a big Florence Pugh fan. She can do no wrong in my eyes. So like to see her as the lead of a team up movie and in the MCU, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, we just got to see how that plays out. And then that Daredevil show is going through some issues right now too. They let go of all the writers.
This is crazy.
And they already filmed, I don't know how many episodes, but they saying like they kind of want to scrap it or see what they can piece together. And kind of
sounds like they basically threw everything out. Like half the show was basically filmed, and they're throwing it all out and starting from the ground up. Fired the writers. It sounds like they're totally reworking it.
The Daredevil series can take its time. It can fit anywhere in the timeline to me. That show is pretty grounded and is really focused on like the pockets of New York City. So they can do that whenever. I really think they should release it and then have a Spider-Man film come out shortly after. And maybe they can have some type of tie-in with a Spider-Man movie. Because I feel like Daredevil and Spider-Man now, you can put together. They're both in New York. And you got to have them interact somehow. It doesn't have to be directly, but you can have something between the two, the series and the upcoming 4th film. And then hopefully we can get Kingpin to make his appearance on the big screen. And I mean, you already have Daredevil show up in the last Spider-Man movie. There's a way to do it. There's a way. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I'm excited for that stuff. You see, I'm getting excited talking about Spider-Man because I just want more Spider-Man, and I have to wait this long. There's supposed to be an animated Spider-Man series. What was it called? Freshman Year for Disney Plus. I'm still waiting on that.
That's right. Yeah, that's been totally dark. No news there.
X-Men 97. Hopefully, it's coming soon, as they say. I'm waiting for that. I'm a big X-Men fan. And so I'm waiting for that. And then hopefully they said after the SAG strike, we'll get an announcement for the Fantastic Four film, so that means they have their cast, and everything else has been maybe garbage for the rumors. So just some nonsense out there if they already had their cast maybe prior to all this.
I don't know. We'll see. There's been so many rumors about Fantastic Four casting that I've ranted about it before, but it drives me crazy. Like people that post fan casting is fact and so on. It's been so rampant with Fantastic Four in particular, way worse than anything else.
It's a bad one. It's like X-Men and Fantastic Four. I don't know how it's going to work in the MCU, but the things I heard about X-Men, though, it's going to be a while till we see the X-Men, which I'm okay with.
Totally, it's definitely going to be a while. I'd be surprised if there's any X-Men before the next Avengers movie in 2026.
Like I think is that the fifth one? That's the second one. So after it's what is it? It's Secret Wars. What's the other Avengers film?
Kang Dynasty is supposed to be May of 2026, and Secret Wars is May of 2027.
So maybe we get a sneak peek of an X-Men and Secret Wars, and then we get an X-Men movie after that, which I feel like I'd be really old by then. It feels like it's forever away. But yeah, that's a lot that we've been talking about this episode, but we got more on next week's show. I believe we're talking about Killers of the Flower Moon, but it's also be Back to the Future Day coming up. And so we're going to have a special Back to the Future episode. Are you excited for that one, Drew? For both, actually.
I'm really excited. I'm excited to talk Back to the Future always, but Killers of the Flower Moon has been my most anticipated movie for literally years now, because I thought it was going to come out last year and then it didn't, and now it's finally coming out. And I've read the book that this movie is based on, and I'm a big Marty fan. I'm a big Leo fan. This is just all of the inner workings to be a Drew Munhausen masterpiece from my standpoint. So hopefully that's what it'll be. But yeah, I'm very excited for this movie. I've been highly anticipating it.
So y'all have a lot to look forward to for our next episode. But if you haven't yet, check out our previous episodes from the Moviegoers Society, and make sure to check out my podcast, Nerdtropolis Mayor Presents, where I interview directors, actors, writers, and producers all on Nerdtropolis Podcast Network. And once again, Drew, where can they find you?
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on all the different social media platforms and weekly over at Fresh Out the Podcast.
Thanks again, everyone, for joining us for another episode of the Moviegoers Society. Once again, I'm Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and we will see you at the movies.